with everyone after that. And then we can start.
Sure. Welcome, everyone. We are very happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. It's really amazing to have you in this series. And myself and the amazing Yulia, we will be taking you through self-expression today. What can you tell us about it, Yulia? What do you think before we jump in?
Yeah, self-expression by the way was one of my challenging building block of my emotional intelligence when I started first to work with the EQ coach for myself. And speaking of my experience, definitely when I stretch my self-expression composite, I notice now that today I'm better engaged and connected with the community. First of all, now I have the community. I'm able to, with ease, to connect with people. And definitely, since I stretch the self-expression, it definitely contributed into my interpersonal, so the next composite as well. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, definitely self-expression, it's a very important element of the emotional intelligence. And, it's about how we use it for various use of communication with others. We can, whether it's verbal or non-verbal, the behavior and how do we express either through speech or many things. And we will be digging deeper into that. Well, my name is Qusay Hamouda, and I am a leadership and executive coach and AQI assessor. And with me is, and she is as well an AQI assessor and an executive coach. And together, we will be taking you through this today.
Yeah.
So
Let's go.
let's go.
So here's our agenda for today. We'll quickly go through the model, and then just to have a mind refresh, to recap what model looks like, how do we actually measure emotional intelligence, which skills included, and then we will cover more deep dive today into the three skills of the self-expression composite. It's emotional expression, assertiveness, and independence. Since we started our conversation, how do we feel today? But we haven't expressed actually. So maybe Bishara, Melis, drop in the chat. How do you feel today? And how about you, Kusai? How do you feel today?
Well, I feel happy. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my reaction.
Have you had iftar yet?
I did actually, yeah. It was an interesting one, and yes, I did.
Oh, yeah, I feel also happy and grateful that today we were able to gather, and today had a productive day. Didn't have an iftar, but looking forward to maybe to attend some iftars next week. Surprisingly, I haven't attended any iftars yet. Yeah, but looking forward. All right, Bishara, also I saw the smiley face. It's good to hear. That's nice.
Very nice. Well, looking into the set of like the again, looking at the what is emotion intelligence quickly, if we want to redefine that, and so we agreed that it is a set of emotions and social skills that influence the way we are, and it's about how it shaped us and how it is. And it goes around four areas, and we will be as well looking into how the framework of the EQ too. So it is about perceiving and perspective about ourselves, It's it helps us the way we communicate with others. It's about how we understand other people and how they are reacting. Of course, in the workplace, at the gym, with among friends, in the supermarket or even at home. So emotional intelligence is very important. Um, how about you tell us, Yulia, what are other areas other than I mentioned that emotional intelligence is important for us? How about for you?
Um, for me, it's as here it's highlighted on the slides, and it definitely contributes into the better relationships in the workplace. So since I started to work with a coach, with a group of professionals, I was able to get promoted at work as well. I got much better, a wider network. And easier to connect with people. I found it for myself. So it definitely enhanced the relationships at work and at home. It makes me more effective as a leader as well when I'm expressing myself and in overall, not only expressing myself, but also how I make decisions. I was able to balance my impulse control and so many different skills to make decisions more effectively, to communicate with my team effectively. And I was able to establish the great bond with my team. So they were so self-driven. So by working on my emotional intelligence skills, it impacted the effectiveness of my team and how they worked. And of course, improved decision making because I can share, I used to have the high level of impulse control, and that slowed down my decision making. So it took me, it could take me some more time usually than other people would take to make decisions because I would do also into the reality testing, also one of the high. So when they are together too high, it slowed down my decision making. So definitely improve decision making as well.
Very nice. And that definitely fall into the five components of the emotional intelligence. And as per the model, which is EQI 2.0 by MHS, it goes around five components, which is the self-perception, self-expression, interpersonal, decision-making, and stress management. And as you see, there is some sort of a cycle going around. So it starts from the self-perception and goes all the way to stress management, and again the circle goes. And then, as you see, there are three sub-skills under each component, and this is basically how deep it can go. So, for example, in self-perception, it can be about self-regard. We as well assess the self-actualization and emotional self-awareness, which is very important to look how you look at yourself, and goes all the time, all the way to uh, since you have a perception now about yourself, it is easier for you to express. So, what comes to the self expression, and this is where you have self expression, you have the assertiveness, and then independence. And then from there, it goes to the next level where we talk about the remaining of the the whole process. And today it's very special because we will be highlighting the self-expression area, and this is where we want to shed the light on. Now, just before we jump into this, if you notice, I want just to highlight that there is an outer circle, which is the silver cycle, we call it. And this is basically where it shows where if my emotional intelligence are imbalance, then definitely the outer circle, it will get affected. And this is where it is the social and emotional function. We're talking about the well-being and the performance. Any change in the emotional intelligence or imbalance, definitely it will fall into this. And if you think about it, you will see that sometimes when there are so much stress going on or something happening as an event in your life, which is maybe can be a little bit of pressure, look at these three areas and you will see that it is getting affected. Your well-being, either maybe your performance at work or, your function as a social and emotions. Again, today we will be shedding the light on the self-expression. And what do you tell us about self-expression, Julia?
Right. So this was my lowest strength, and I was able to stretch it. That's my favorite topic, I think, for today. So emotional expression. It's not just expressing whenever we feel down or negative emotions when we are angry. So emotional expression is expressing any kind of feelings. When I'm talking to professionals as well, think about where it's relevant to express emotions. Giving the positive feedback. For example, you felt proud, or someone from your team delivered a great job, great project. How do you express them? And as well, it's so the definition of emotional expression as per the EQI 2.0 model, it is the ability to communicate your feelings or emotions, not just clearly, but also effectively in a constructive, polite, and respectful way, whether through words or facial expressions or body language. So non-verbal communication also matters. And people with high emotional expression openly share their feelings in a constructive way, in a respectful way. They also comfortable expressing, as I mentioned, not just negative emotions, but also positive emotions, giving the feedback, acknowledge someone's feelings as well. And they do not suppress or their emotion holding back and accumulating like a snowball, for example. And we will have a quick check about your emotional expression, whether it is in balance or not. So people also with balanced emotional expression, they are able to articulate their thoughts and feelings in a way that create a connection and enhance the relationships and trust between individuals. So that's if we describe the emotional expression, verbal, non-verbal, constructive, polite way that results in a stronger bond and connection with others. Um, so other signs that someone has the um, balanced emotional expression. I'm using the word balance because when you are too high on the scale of emotional expression, it means you are over sharing. If you are too low, it could be also not effective. So the idea is to have a balance. And one of the signs that someone's emotional expression is balanced is that they communicate in an authentic way. So they communicate honestly without faking, and while also being mindful about how they come across to others and how this may influence others. Emotional awareness. So they understand their own emotions and they can articulate them in a way that others will understand them better. So they're not too expressive or too emotional or too cold, balanced. Yeah. Regulation and appropriateness. So they will identify the right time when to express their emotions, and then how to communicate their emotions effectively. When delivering feedback, for example, when let's imagine a leader is frustrated about the results, missing the deadlines, right? So we have the feedback schema model about the sandwich, something good, something give a stretch, and something also to close up with actions. Melissa is saying, thank you so much for the session. I have a hard stop now, so I will log off and watch the recording later. For sure, Melissa, no worries. I will share with you the recording by email. So regardless of the situation, the person with balanced emotional expression will not hold back from expressing, but will find the right time and the right model and the way to communicate without creating rupture of relationships as well. And will communicate in a confident or will maintain confidence in expressing and delivering the message. So they are not feeling awkward, or they are not feeling too shy or afraid of expressing their positive or negative feelings. And so they have a very good self-composure. So, and that's here's the trick to be expressive or versus overly reactive. As I mentioned, the idea is to balance, not overreactive on whether great emotions or negative emotions, but the idea is to balance, to communicate effectively both at work and at home. So I could also recently would be very frustrated from my partner because we planned something, it didn't go as a plan, and then I was so frustrated about it. So I feel confident communicating about my frustration, but also I'm being mindful about, did he have a good day? Something happened to him before, and then communicate how I felt in a proper manner, effectively, without creating a rupture in our relationships. And that leads us to the low level of emotional expression skills. It's difficult to communicate feelings, especially in a conflict situation. There are individuals who prefer to avoid communicating. They do the stonewalling, for example. They withdraw from the situation or from communication at all because they feel struggle to communicate their emotions, how they feel and what they want and their needs. Emotional suppression, that's also related. So they will also in relationship at work, there is could be come across as people pleasing. So they will also sacrifice on their own boundaries in order to create a greater impression and preserve the relationships. And they may disconnect from others, especially once again in a context in a conflict situation, and as well when they not sure how to establish the context and how to express their interests as well. Here we could have an example of highly introverted people, and this is something, the beauty is you can develop this skill of expressing themselves. And another would be a sign of a low level of emotional expression skill is fear of rejection and vulnerability. So those might be afraid of disclosing that they don't know all the answers, for example, and that could also pretend that everything is cool, I have no problems, I'm not stressed, and so on. Yeah, playing it cool. And the tendency to withdraw, this is similar to what I mentioned at the beginning. So it's more as an avoidant type of approaching conflicts and relationships as well. And here it comes back to the balance. We differentiate between being reserved and emotionally repressed. Reserved is, yeah, so how would you put it? What's the difference you would put about it? Now let's check in into the two questions here. Personal relationships. How comfortable are you with expressing your emotions to those close to you? Drop in the chat. Kusai, how about you? Are you comfortably expressing your emotions?
It actually depends. So it depends on the situation. It depends on sometime you, as you pass through many situations, you think of the other party and how to express how you feel about something happened. But yeah, it's a very important thing to look at. How about you?
I think previously, before I did my emotional intelligence assessment and before
Mm.
I started to work with a Q coach, it was so difficult for me. I would suppress my emotions. I would sacrifice. I would do the people pleasing, and that's such an amazing progress I made that now I learn. Uh, I love expressing myself, and I see that it's improving my relationships with my family, with my partner, with my friends as well. And but I have to say that it takes two. We even discuss with friends. We when we both express how we feel, but it takes two in order to communicate effectively. Because when one is communicating effectively, the other one doesn't cooperate. I think it would be a challenge. So having both yeah, grades as emotional expression with a balance, then that would be ideal. But yeah, definitely, I love now expressing myself. The more I started to practice it, the easier it became. Um,
And that's what it takes to practice, isn't it? So the more you, it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the more it's become stronger.
yeah. Bishara, Irma, please join our discussion. Curious to hear, do you face challenges expressing positive or negative emotions in your relationships? And how about professional setting? When faced with a disagreement, do you express your emotion openly or do you tend to withdraw? Let's say it happens at work. I propose an initiative and a project, an idea, but someone said, no, we are not going to do that. And so how, and you are very frustrated because you were working on this proposal maybe for a couple of months, and now you see it's not going to happen. Um, how
To
do you
me,
express?
if
Yeah.
I think about it for myself, when it comes to work, it's completely different. Um, every one I work with, they know me as the consultant who says no. So clients doesn't really approve or agree with me because if it doesn't make sense to me, then or to the project, not specifically to me, I always refuse to do it. And I find myself more expressive at that point. I express to the client how, or to the people who are working with me, that if this is not working, then it's not working, and why it's not working, and how I feel about it.
Mm.
So I never step back and not to share feeling about something happening either at work or in a project specifically.
I see. Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, work and personal relationship would be different. So what I'm hearing at
Yeah,
work, you are more composed and more calm, so it doesn't trigger. Well, in relationships, it's more challenging to share. Yeah. To me, in professional settings, I felt, I do recall a situation when I had an appraisal, and one specific composite of the appraisal was the communication. And I was given the evaluation that it could be my development area. Although I did develop so much, and I was surprised by this evaluation. I had disagreement with that, but since I was already exposed to some trainings, yeah, I was able to express that, saying that, oh, I was surprised. Could you tell me more about what I may not see here? How would you see the more effective communication if you have something specific situations in mind? Yeah, so applying the
yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. And this is Bashara is saying, I wish I could say no easily. It's definitely not an easy thing to come forward and say, but when you already know the actual fact that what is being requested or what's being asked is not gonna solve or work towards the initiative or the project or the work or the task, then it will become easier to stand your ground and say, no, this is not gonna work. And it's because of one, two, three. It's definitely not an easy thing. I do remember my early days in the consultancy and, where what would I do? It wasn't something I thought that saying yes to a client always, for example, is the ultimate achievement that we need. But then with time, you started to realize, like being on the other side, the client is telling you as an expert to come here to do this and that. If they can't do it themselves, then why would they hire you? And then if they come and say, yeah, but this is how we want it, there are as many times when I say, oh, really? So do it yourself. So I step back. So yeah, it's not easy to do as it's easier to say, but the minute you start to do that in a way that you are being assertive, and we're gonna jump to that as well and see how can you really say no in a way that it is just standing your ground and showing why. And there are some situations where maybe you would say, okay, well, I would say my opinion, but I'm still gonna go with whatever the team or the client or the director or the leader is saying. And across the way, I will lean forward to try to show them the better way to do it. So we will talk about that.
Yeah. So, as what I'm hearing, it everything comes back with the practice. Is that so, Kosai? But also,
Oh,
what
of course.
hearing the self-regard, it's interesting. It creates a link to the first composite of EQI, self-perception and self-regard, knowing what you know, what you don't know, and when you have this clarity of self-concept, that contributes to confidence as well. Yeah. So, as the model explains, that those skills that are not individual, they are not independent. They are very linked between each other. So,
Yes.
and my favorite part when we do the assessment and then when we investigate the dependence, how they show up and work, that's where the so many insights you can uncover. So now we go to the assertiveness. And maybe here it's Bishara opened for the assertiveness exactly the part. This is the
Yeah.
next skill of the composite of self-expression.
Yes, basically, because assertiveness is very important because it's about expressing your needs and feelings in an honest, respectful, and confident manner, right? And this is as you see in the graph. I love the graph. It talks about your needs and other people needs, and then how you need to balance these, and then assertiveness comes in the middle. You don't want to not to consider other people needs, but at the same time, you need to consider and find this common ground, which we call it the sweet spot, which is very important. So assertive is the ability to express our thoughts, emotions, and needs openly, as it says here, and confidently while respecting other people's opinions. So, yeah, okay, well, this is what you want, this is what I want, but this is the sweet spot in the middle. How about we meet there, right? So, it's very important. It's about how you say no, how you set boundaries, how you be direct and clear, and body language and tone, which is as well can be very important. So basically, when we are talking about assertiveness, it's about standing the ground and talk about it. And it's very interesting how you just linked it to self-regard, because having a positive self-image and a strong sense of worth also although it's actually reflect in how you be assertive. We can't see the relation of someone who's having low self-regard being assertive. It doesn't work, right? If you think about it, anyone, it just doesn't work. It's like it can't. Someone with low self-regard, definitely they will put other people needs on their needs. And when we look at high our assertiveness here, or what we call it balanced, then more clear and direct communication. They are actually open for feedback as constructive, feedback. They listen to it. It doesn't mean they have to take it by heart, but take like what they see that it is aligned, the ability to say no, which is the most important thing, saying no, because that's the time when you say, yeah, okay, I understand this is your need, but this is not meeting my need at the moment. I am not passing through an event or something in my life now that is aligned with that. Everyone is in their own journey, and then this is very important to stand or to take this stand and to talk about it. So when with someone having a balanced assertive or high assertiveness, as it's mentioned here. So they have more boundaries they set, they say no more often, they talk about confidence without aggressive, because we say there is a very thin line between being assertive and being aggressive. So we need to take care of which how we are leaning forward to that and how we need to step back, which is very hard to do, especially if you are already within the situation where things are not going the way you want, and you're trying to, stand your ground. So that's how it is. But at the end, these are the areas when you already look at, it will reflect very good on how assertiveness can be. However, when we talk about low assertiveness, then it is about difficult to say no. Avoid, when you're avoiding conflict or seeking excessive approvals, this is when it's reflect badly on the other side. And that's when you need to look at it and say, okay, well, if this is where I am today, what would be the strategy for me to move forward? So it's about, working towards, first thing first is try to just stand your ground and say no in the time when you feel that it is not the situation that it would work for your needs and match your needs. It's not necessarily only your needs. It can be a project needs if I want to talk about the work or a project, or even sometimes something with a higher value. So this is very important. Staying calm and manage emotions is very important at this point, maintaining open body language and so on. And these are the things that I think we usually need to work on. Now, applying for this and look at it and look at how your assertiveness, if I want to check in, which area do you think between these three? How about you, Yulia? Do you think you are assertive now after your coaching with the emotional intelligence?
Um, I would say I still need to have a stretch on assertiveness. It is much better than before. Um, I would say that still I need to develop a stretch on assertiveness. For now, I'm towards passive. And when it comes to personal relationships and also professional relationships, I think I could be more assertive in professional settings and less assertive in personal relationships.
All right. For me, when it comes to work and a professional setting, I can see myself sometime between assertiveness and a little bit going between aggression. And this is only because it is about the projects. Because we work with projects, we work with the deadlines. So sometimes you need to have this. It's not, of course, the ultimate way, and it is something that need to be worked on. When it comes in a personal, settings, either among friends or among families, it's uh, it's the other way, which is interesting. You can be a little bit of assertive and passive, maybe because when you are at work, it's work, so you just maybe start to think about the project more than the feelings and the other needs, which is as well need to be considered. And then the other way, because you care about people, so maybe that's make it a little bit different.
Mhm. Drop in the chat, Bishara, Irma. How about you? How assertive you are in personal and professional settings? And in the meantime, I can share the my favorite phrases to express assertiveness is one I would say, can I challenge you on that when I want to express disagreement? And do you mind, or I'd like to challenge you on this on this concept or on this idea. Or I would like to bring, I would say that that's a great point. I could complement one specific idea, and then I would like to bring a different perspective here. And so that's how I like to express my disagreement.
Very nice. It's very good strategies as well. I like the phrases, especially about I would like to bring a different perception because that will show or in a way tell the other party that I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm just telling you from my angle how I'm seeing things.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And in a personal relationship, what helps me or what I like to use, and I find it effective for myself, is paraphrasing, to better understand the perception of other person. So what I'm hearing is one, two, three. Is that so? I feel that you might be feel strongly about it. Is it so? So I do the paraphrasing, and to make sure that I understood correctly, decode the message of the individual in the right way, and then I would say, all right, I would like to share also from my part, from my side, how this came across, and how let's have a look at the situation. What can we do about here? So I think that helps as well with my assertiveness.
Very nice.
Independence. This is, I love the independence just because there is a strong link with self-perception. I can see it. So independence, this is the not just the ability to work autonomously with minimal supervision, making decisions, taking the direction, but also how you feel about it. Think about when you are assigned a project and how you make a decision and you decide the direction and the future of the project, the concept. You develop a program, let's say the L&D program or talent development program, leadership program for your organization, and then you have the full power of designing, creating the workshop, the assessments, the curriculum, and everything. So it's just you. How do you feel about it? Do you feel you want to someone else's opinion? Do you want to ask the colleagues? Can you make a decision? Can you take approvals by on your own, or you feel not confident? And that is the differentiator, the independence, not just being able to work with minimal supervision, but also feeling confident in your judgments. And it involves relying on your internal validation rather than outside. But once again, it's also about the balance. When it is in balance, if Kusai, you would like to add something over here about independence.
Of course. So, independence, it's as well, you know, the key aspect about it is about being self-reliant, right?
Yeah.
Which is very important. And this is when it's balanced, you have autonomy in decision making as well, which is can look how freedom from over dependency, and it will show your personal responsibility. Emotional independence is important because you can manage your own emotions without connecting that to other people. So these are the areas where we see it, like, about the self-sufficient being and in the decision making, the, collaboration and the self-motivation. And you know what? It's when it's balanced, what's important, a person will feel empowered and because it fostered the sense of control over your life, helping you feel empowered to pursue goals and create the life you want. It will show you confidence on you as well, and of course healthy boundaries, like which you can set and maintain healthy boundaries in relationships or either at work or personal. So being independent builds you self-confident, and you as you learn as well to trust your ability to navigate challenges on your own, which is very important. Now, on the other side, when it is low independence as a score, it will immediately reflect and, show lack of initiative, which will reflect in your personal growth, your emotional dependence as well in either relationship or in decision making will be really a problem, So it's not a very sweet spot to be, and but it can be really developed to get away from this. When you have an excessive needs of approval, for example, slowly you start to get out from this, and then you have a dependent saying, okay, I'm taking everything on my own. I don't need others to approve or to give me opinion in what I need to do. It is just me. I'm gonna decide, I'm gonna do it. That's what I want. This is where I am supposed to be. And that's how it's just like taking control of your own life, which is really important.
Yeah, I can add also examples about okay, I need to decide what to dress today. Can you help me to choose the t-shirt, the shirt, the skirt, the dress? And I can't. I will try so many. I will share with everyone input so that I can make a decision. What to dress, what to buy, what to eat, what to order. Make or order food for me in the restaurant. Then when emotional dependence, not only at work, so at work it may come across as you constantly need the validation, the feedback, approval that you're doing a great job, you're doing well, you're on the right track, and that could be the anxiety that or they might terminate me, or I might lose my job. Maybe I'm not sure whether I'm doing a great job or not. So you depend constantly on the external validation of whether or not you're doing a great job. Additionally, in personal relationships, it could be the same. They call it also in attachment theory in relationship anxious attachment, where the person also needs constant validation and reassurance on the from the other partner and friends as well. And lack of initiative, it will always be, or in a brainstorming setting in a group where everyone would be sharing ideas, but the person maybe feel awkward or shy to bring up something because of the fear of being rejected, of being judged as well. Maybe I'm not sure that my idea could be really good. So I would say that no, I don't have any ideas. I think I agree with everyone. Yeah. Uh,
Nice, thank you. Well, I want to share one thing, when you, and actually we can do that as we are doing the check-ins. So first, let us ask this: how comfortable do you feel making decisions independently without relying heavily on others' approvals? I really would like to hear your point of view in the chat, Irma and Bishara. I think this is a very important question. I would like to hear from you. But meanwhile, there was one thing maybe we can share here as a strategy of how can we improve or develop our independence. And the first thing I think always it is have correlation with that is self-awareness. Because when you know your what do you need, you know the desires, you know everything. What do you need in life now? Where are you? What do you need on a project? If we need to like narrow it down a little bit, for example, right? Then that's the time when you know how you can decide without seeking other people approvals, or of course sometimes technically you might need to go, and that's different. If there is something you don't know and then you're asking for someone to give you an input on, that's taking an opinion. It's not only a decision, which is, yeah, it can be actually healthy for you to make sure you're asking someone with a higher competence on something maybe you don't know. This is okay. Of course, it's always okay to ask for help or ask other people, but we're talking about even after you do that, or the excessive asking, like, oh, if I ask this person, then I go ask this person. And believe me, I have people around me where they come and ask for an advice, and I know for the matter of fact they're gonna take this advice and they're gonna go around and ask other people. How many times we have someone like this in either at work or outside work, where they ask everyone about something. So self-awareness is very important. Now, going back again to this question. So, what do you think, Julia?
Uh, uh, totally agree with you. Self-perception composite, emotional self-awareness, also self-actualization, and self-regard. So knowing who you are, what you know, what you don't know, accepting yourself as the whole package, respecting yourself, self-worth, self-confidence, the whole concept of self. And then emotional self-awareness is important. Okay, I have a fear, or I have the doubts, I have the anxiety, I have a need for the external validation. Where does this come from? And realizing how this impact my decision making. And then it takes us to the link to the decision making composite that we'll talk in another episode. Specifically, we'll break down about the reality testing, also the impulse control, and problem solving. So there is an interconnection with, or also maybe there is something as interpersonal, that's another composite, and maybe you are looking forward, or the behavior comes from because you value the relationships with others more than something else. So that is why when we do the assessment, it reveals how we can work on this independence, where we can focus on in order to create this shift. So sometimes, surprisingly, we don't need necessarily to work or specifically on stretching your independence. Sometimes we tackle on interpersonal relationship or emotional self-awareness, and by default it will improve the independence as well. So that's
Yeah, perfect. I totally agree with you.
yeah. So now that we gathered and deep dived into the today into the emotional expression, assertiveness, and independence, and let us know also in the chat, Bishara, Irma, or someone will watch this recording. Drop us in the chat, email us back. What would you rather, improve your emotional expression, or assertiveness, or independence?
All. Bishara said all, so she would like to work on all of them.
Wow.
Um, nice.
But that got me thinking, Kosai, maybe you can share your inputs on that. So let's imagine we improve all of them. How will it
Yeah.
look like? It will show up?
Confidence and better decision making. Because when you work on your emotional expression, assertiveness, and independence, if you notice, when we talk about these, we were always mentioning two things: confidence and decision making, right? It will definitely affect. That's from my point of view. I think it will really fall into these two very, very well, and it will show, exactly. The emotional intelligence will be improved. Thank you, Bishara. So that's overall. So yeah.
What also comes to my mind, sometimes the improvement, it's not necessarily to make it higher on a scale, but sometimes it's lower on a scale. So, for example, I worked with, for example, first, if we take emotional expression could be on lower scale, at the same time, assertiveness could be on higher scale, independence could be on the lower scale, for example, or it could be assertiveness and emotional expression low, but independence very high. And in this case, the improvement could look differently. It could increase of two scales, but decrease another one. So sometimes
Mm.
because when we think about the improvements, we always think increasing something. When it comes to emotional intelligence skills, I find it interesting that it's not always the case. Uh, for example, I worked with EQ coach to reduce my emotional self-awareness. It was too high, and it showed up as my overthinking. And it
Mm.
was also contributed to slowing down my decision making. impulse control because I was processing internally too much, scanning how I feel, where this come from, and how this is impacting me. So we worked with my EQ coach to reduce my emotional self-awareness. And that's how to put down my impulse control. Irma is saying for independence is not seeking for approval, but more guidance, especially for someone that has more experience and when that person input is highly regarded. Yeah, definitely. This is what Kosai totally agrees with that point, Irma. That's a good one. So that's a healthy one, I would say, to communicate, to ask for inputs when it contributes, to fill the gap, rather than because you doubt yourself, regardless of how much experience, knowledge you already gained. Yeah.
Very nice. Actually, if we need to look at some strategies, since we talked about how and where would we do something, you know, one of the things that I advise usually my clients is to tell them if you want to really look into this, view your setbacks, what things that didn't work in the past, and then see what you learned from this. That will cultivate your growth mindset, which is very important. Continuously as well seek new knowledge because that will feel you empowered. You learned something, you have something new, and completely that will raise your confidence. And when you have a high confidence, definitely everything else will work. And interesting as well what you mentioned, Julia, when we talk about how can we improve. Improve doesn't always about improving in having more. Sometimes, as you said, it's about sometime balancing. So that's why we say balancing. We don't say reduce, we don't say make it more, increase. No, it's balancing because what it takes and what is important in emotional intelligence is the harmony of them and how it works all to them. Think about it like a symphony. Too much drums wouldn't really sound okay. Too much piano sound wouldn't sound okay. Less violin, it will not sound okay, right? So take an orchestra, for example, and listen to a whole concerto and symphony, uh, a perfect one when everything is in harmony, where everything the right tone, the right amount, the right everything, timing as well. So that's what's emotional intelligence, to my opinion. Like this is how I see it. So sometime if too much drums, you need to reduce that, right? So that's exactly what you just mentioned, and I love this metaphor, and I heard it from one of the coaches before, and I loved it. And since then, it's always resonate. Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it all matters. Does the music sound right? Uh,
yeah, exactly.
All right, so we've covered everything for today. The self-expression composite. I will stop the recording for now, and I will